Naming the greatest footballer of all time remains one of the sport's greatest discussions. Over the last 20 years, there has been ongoing debate over whether Cristiano Ronaldo is better than Lionel Messi, or vice versa, and where they stand against some of the biggest talents of previous generations. So many things have changed throughout football's history. No doubt Johan Cruyff and Diego Maradona would have excelled further with the greatly improved pitches and fitness recovery programs of the modern game. Then, of course, there is Pelé. The Brazilian inspired his country to win the World Cup as a 17-year-old in 1958. He was then part of that special Brazil side that won the World Cup again in 1970. But how does he compare to footballers of the current era? There is so much subjectivity involved in these discussions that perhaps it's best to leave the conclusions to artificial intelligence, who can offer a more objective perspective. With that in mind, we asked ChatGPT to name the 20 greatest footballers ever and give us clear reasons why. Here's their response below. Xavi was the metronome of Barcelona's midfield and a key player in Spain's golden era, winning the World Cup in 2010 and European Championship in 2008 and 2012. There is no denying Xavi was incredibly composed on the ball. Alongside Iniesta and Messi, he formed the nucleus of an incredible Barcelona team. ChatGPT is clear on where his abilities rank, when it added, his passing and vision are regarded as some of the best in history. Seemingly never flustered on the ball, Xavi had the intelligence to always find space to receive the ball and begin deadly attacks with intricate passes. Zico was the jewel in the crown of the hugely entertaining 1982 World Cup Brazil side.
And also press this
ChatGPT
bell
is
icon.
very complimentary about the number 10. Zico was a brilliant playmaker and a free-kick specialist, often referred to as the White Pelé. He was one of Brazil's best players in the 1970s and 1980s, though he never won a World Cup. Of course, many felt the Brazil 1982 side should have won the World Cup. They were beaten by Paulo Rossi's memorable hat trick. Football fans from that era still have great memories of Zico, who showed his quality when he inspired Flamengo to a 3-0 win over Liverpool in the Intercontinental Cup final. Bobby Charlton survived the 1959 Munich air disaster. From that moment on, he very much felt a weight of responsibility to help Manchester United rebuild and once again become a great side. ChatGPT is succinct when describing Charlton's influence. A member of England's 1966 World Cup winning team, Charlton is one of Manchester United's greatest ever players, known for his passing, leadership, and long-range shooting. In 1966, Charlton was named ahead of Eusebio and Franz Beckenbauer to win the Ballon d'Or. Armed with a hammer of a strike, he will go down as one of the greatest British players of all time. Right-winger Garrincha is widely considered one of the greatest Brazilian footballers of all time. An unlikely hero, he was born with crooked legs and abject poverty. ChatGPT is unequivocal about his standing in the game. Garrincha was one of the greatest dribblers in football history, known for his flair and creativity. He helped Brazil win 2 World Cups, 1958, 1962, and was a key part of their success. It is often forgotten that Pelé was injured for the 1962 World Cup. It was Garrincha who very much filled that gap, with his mesmeric runs and eye for goal. A truly unique player who used his apparent physical weakness to his advantage. Those crooked legs made Garrincha almost impossible to stop when running with the ball. ChatGPT on Eusebio. He was a powerhouse forward who led Portugal to 3rd place in the 1966 World Cup, winning the Golden Boot as top scorer and earning multiple individual honors. Known as the Black Pearl, Eusebio was hugely influential for club and country throughout the 1960s and 70s. Star of the Benfica team that won the 1962 European Cup with a 5-3 win over Real Madrid, Eusebio played and lost in 3 further finals. When he finally retired in 1978, the Portuguese international was reported to have scored an incredible 733 times in 745 matches, including 41 in 64 internationals. Ferenc Puskás is undoubtedly one of the all-time greats. The Hungarian won the European Cup multiple times with Real Madrid. He even once scored a hat-trick in the final, but managed to still finish on the losing side when Benfica beat them. Here is what ChatGPT have to say about the player known as the Galloping Major. One of the greatest forwards of all time, Puskás won numerous trophies with both Hungary and Real Madrid, and his goal-scoring feats are legendary, with the Puskás Award named in his honor. The FIFA Puskás Award is given to the player who has scored the most aesthetically significant, or most beautiful, goal of the calendar year. Often regarded as the greatest goalkeeper of all time, Yashin won the Ballon d'Or in 1963 and was famous for his reflexes, shot-stopping ability, and leadership between the posts. That is what ChatGPT says about the former Soviet Union goalkeeper Lev Yashin. Often dressed in an all-black goalkeeping kit and blessed with great athleticism, Yashin was known by football fans as the Black Spider. At 6'2", he was an imposing and athletic figure. He was in goal for the Soviet Union's finest hour, when after extra time they beat Yugoslavia 2-1 to win the 1960 European Championships in Paris. In full flow, Marco van Basten was a fabulous sight. Here is what ChatGPT say about the Dutchman. Van Basten was a clinical striker known for his finishing ability and technical brilliance, winning the Ballon d'Or 3 times and leading the Netherlands to European Championship glory in 1988. Van Basten scored one of the most memorable goals of all time when he volleyed home from a tight angle in Holland's 2-0 win over the Soviet Union in the Euro '88 final. He was also a feared striker during his dominant period at AC Milan. Tragically, an ankle injury forced him to retire aged 28. For around 2 years between 2004 and 2006, Ronaldinho was unplayable and widely regarded as the best player in the world, as ChatGPT confirms. Ronaldinho's skill, creativity, and joy for the game made him one of the most entertaining players ever. His peak at Barcelona earned him a Ballon d'Or in 2005 and 2 La Liga titles. Not only was he magnificent to watch, Ronaldinho also played with a smile on his face. Having scored a memorable Barcelona goal against Real Madrid, he got a standing ovation from the Bernabeu crowd. They, too, recognized brilliance when they saw it, and few were as brilliant as the enigmatic Brazilian. Best was a dazzling dribbler with incredible vision and flair. His career at Manchester United saw him win numerous individual accolades and the European Cup in 1968. Aged only 22, Northern Irishman George Best was named Ballon d'Or winner in 1968. Best was an inspirational figure in Manchester United's run to winning the European Cup in the same year, scoring a memorable goal in United's 4-1 win against Benfica at Wembley in the final. Although Best had his own demons in his life, he was undoubtedly an exceptional player who lives long in the memory and remains one of the greatest British footballers of all time. ChatGPT recognizes the influence German great Franz Beckenbauer has had on the game, a sweeper who changed the role of the libero. Beckenbauer led Germany to World Cup victories as both a player, 1974, and a coach, 1990. Ever brave, the German famously played on in the 1970 World Cup final with a dislocated shoulder. He was also a gigantic figure for his club, leading Bayern Munich to 3 consecutive European Cup wins despite initially joining them in the second division. Ultimately, Beckenbauer, the greatest German player of all time, and is just one of 3 people to have won the World Cup as a player and a manager. A versatile forward and leader, Di Stefano was central to Real Madrid's dominance in European football during the 1950s,
to my channel.
Winning 5 consecutive
And also
European
press this
Cups.
bell icon.
The achievement of winning 5 European Cups in a row remains a monumental milestone in the history of the game. It certainly places Di Stefano as an all-time great. Able to score goals, as well as create them, the Argentine continues to cast a shadow over the Bernabeu. He was the leader of the team that very much cemented Madrid as a global force on the football stage and is remembered as one of the greatest strikers the sport has ever seen. On Ronaldo, ChatGPT says, "O Fenomeno was one of the most gifted and lethal strikers, with 2 World Cup wins and multiple individual accolades despite injuries hampering his career." Before his career-threatening injuries, Ronaldo appeared almost double-jointed. He seemed to be able to move the ball in very tight spaces, enabling him to zigzag around opponents. The stocky striker never quite recovered that same speed and agility to his play, especially when trying to run with the ball, but remained a lethal finisher. In the lead-up to the 2002 World Cup, the Brazilian was seen as something of an outsider to score goals in the tournament because of his knee ligament injuries. But it was actually Ronaldo's finest hour, scoring 2 goals in the final as Brazil lifted the trophy. Usually seen with his shirt worn untucked, Michel Platini is regarded by some as the greatest French player of all time. Here is what ChatGPT have to say. Platini's elegance and skill as a midfielder helped him win 3 consecutive Ballon d'Or titles, and he was instrumental in France's success in the 1980s. France's success in the 1980s was rooted in the winning of Euro '84. Platini scored an incredible 9 goals in that tournament. He was equally influential for his club. In the 1985 European Cup final, he stroked home the winning penalty for Juventus. Platini's reputation has been soured by corruption scandals since retiring, but he was one of the best footballers around at his peak. On Frenchman Zinedine Zidane, ChatGPT says, known for his vision, creativity, and ability to control the game, Zidane was the key player for France in their 1998 World Cup and 2000 European Championship triumphs. It could be argued that Zidane was even better in the 2006 World Cup, where he was the driving force behind France making the final. He blotted his copybook somewhat in that final, getting sent off. However, he still has a huge standing in the game. Zidane was blessed with a dominant physique, but also an incredible first touch, and that combination allowed him to dominate midfields throughout his career. Johan Cruyff is seen as the greatest ever Dutch footballer. ChatGPT says, a revolutionary player and thinker, Cruyff's total football philosophy, combined with his individual brilliance, changed the way the game is played. Supremely confident and outspoken, Cruyff was the inspiration behind the Dutch's total football philosophy. He was also a key part of the Ajax side that won 3 European Cups in a row, with the winger scoring both Ajax goals in the 1972 final against Inter. Cruyff also invented the Cruyff turn, which remains a staple piece of skill to this day, and changed the way in which footballers thought about using their technique and their body to protect the ball and retain possession. As a manager, Cruyff would go on to revolutionize Barcelona's style of play, leading to their most defining era under Pep Guardiola. Cristiano Ronaldo's summary on ChatGPT is succinct. One of the most successful and consistent players in football history, Ronaldo's physical prowess and goal-scoring records are unmatched. There is a strong argument to say many players lower down the rankings were more naturally talented than Ronaldo. Yet few could argue with Ronaldo's numbers. Over the years, he's delivered goals and trophies year after year, across club, continental, and international football, while playing in England, Spain, Italy, and now Saudi Arabia. He and Lionel Messi made one of the biggest rivalries in footballing history, dominating the Ballon d'Or scene for the best part of 2 decades. ChatGPT says about Lionel Messi, with 8 Ballon d'Or awards, countless records, and his World Cup triumph in 2022, Messi has cemented his place as one of the game's greatest. Lionel Messi may be the most naturally gifted footballer of all time, with opponents often remarking that his abilities seem to be almost alien-like. Nobody has been able to carry the ball as precisely, quickly, and effortlessly as the Argentine, who became the poster boy of Pep Guardiola's iconic Barcelona team. Messi has won 4 Champions League titles, 8 Ballon d'Ors, and 1 World Cup. But ChatGPT believes there are still 2 players even greater than him. What ChatGPT said, known for his magical dribbling and leadership, Maradona led Argentina to the 1986 World Cup, where his performances are legendary. It's true, Maradona was sensational in the 1986 World Cup. He was also unreal in the season that followed, leading an unfancied Napoli to the Serie A title. Then, carrying an injury, he somehow took Argentina to the World Cup final again in 1990. This time they lost 1-0 to Germany. However, nobody can deny Maradona his brilliance. Often credited with scoring football's greatest goal and most detestable goal in the same game, Maradona's performance against England defined his duality.
Hey there.
His ability to entertain
Subscribe
and
to my
shock,
channel.
his genius
And also
and
press
wildness,
this bell
and
icon.
made him an all-time icon. What ChatGPT said, 2-time World Cup winner, 1958, 1970. With over 1,000 goals scored in his career, Pelé is often seen as the benchmark for greatness. Brave, strong, athletic, and with an eye for goal, Pelé was the fulcrum of the great World Cup winning side of 1970. He is often credited for winning the 1962 World Cup, although Pelé was injured in the 0-0 group game with Czechoslovakia. He played no further part in the tournament. He did, of course, inspire Brazil to victory in the 1958 World Cup final. While Pelé was never tested in Europe, which does create some ambiguity over the caliber of opponent he faced, his triumphs on the world stage are yet to be surpassed in over half a century.